Welcome to the Performance Enhancing Podcast. It's like steroids for your brain. A podcast for people that want the best info, but just don't have the time. Get your podcast fix with the Cliff Notes versions of your favorite podcasts. No fluff, just the actionable golden nuggets. Having this much knowledge at your fingertips should be downright illegal. So get ready for another dose of Performance Enhancing Podcast with Satori Prime. Here's your host, Ilan Ferdman.
Hello again, Ilan here with part 2 of the Performance Enhancing Podcast interview with Chris Daigle. And as promised at the end of part 1, part 2 delves into a very unique marketing strategy that I think will shed a huge light on an arena that I think a lot of people are completely forgetting about. And we'll talk about a few strategies on how to implement this literally in any business model. So stay tuned and let's hear what Chris has to say about this super unique marketing strategy. So let's switch gears here because Chris also has a business model that I think a lot of people are completely unaware that exists, and I would love for you to share about it. So why don't you? I'm not even gonna go into it. I'll let you share what you've been up to for the last it's been like almost 2 years now. I mean, you did it previously, but like you really.
Yeah. I kind of cranked it up again about 2 years, actually. So in 2009, I had twins on the way, and my internet business was experiencing entropy, which is, if no new energy is introduced into a system, then that system by default will begin to decay. And I my web-based business had been easy peasy. It was on autopilot. And then all of a sudden I turn around and it's like, I've got to keep up with what's the new widget and what's the new this, because the digital marketing landscape changed a lot with these hyper productive and, real go-getter types that were, I can't outwork a 20-year-old kid. I don't want to, So I started looking, what is the alternative? I can be a rat on a wheel constantly. What's the new SEO trick? The new blah, 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 blah. That's not how I do things. So I happened to be introduced to a guy named Luke Jayton. At the time, he was selling a product called Postcard Profits. I listened to the message. And what really struck me with the direct mail channel was that, it was so much bigger than the digital channel, which I didn't even think about. B, everybody had gone from mail order and direct mail 20 years ago, and now everybody was on the internet, right? There was so much competition. And as a result, everybody was competing for the email inbox, but there was zero competition for a much more intimate environment, which is the mailbox, right? I care about, I'm excited to check my mail. The email, I'll go, my autoresponder says, please, I'm not even going to check this, so don't expect to check. So that was cool. I realized that, hey, this is like the internet was in 99, 2000 and all that stuff. So my very first campaign, I kicked it off. It was a very simple model. It's using postcards to very targeted lists. People think that you can do, very good list segmentation on the internet. Well, offline, it's been something that they've been doing for 50 years, and it's scientific. I mean, if I know. It boils down to, and I think you weren't you talking to somebody about avatar definition recently? Yep. Okay. Yep. So understanding your avatar, and it's not just a business opportunity buyer. For your avatar, it might be, my avatar skews male, 40 plus, and they happen to, live on the coasts, or they happen to be Midwestern type folk, or whatever. Once you know that stuff, you can go to an offline list broker, somebody that's basically got lists and lists and lists. But what happens is that with direct mail, okay, you say, okay, great, I can target, 40 to 50-year-old males in the U.S. Easy enough. But when you really know your avatar, you know what magazines they read, where they go on vacation, what shows they watch, what sporting events they attend, what's really important to them. And by understanding that, I'm sure you guys covered this already, but you can have a conversation that they're like, again, if you remember, the sweetest sound in any language is a person's own name, right? If you can make your message to where you're talking to them, you mention that magazine. You mention, oh, wow, they really got their butts kicked in the sporting event or whatever. That person, you are no longer noise, like everybody else's message. You're like, oh, this is good. I like this guy. Why do I like this guy? Because he's like me. People like them, right? So offline, if you know your avatar to that level of specificity, you can call a list broker and say, I need American Express holders that were born between these years that also subscribe to, uh, Southern Living magazine and have taken a vacation to the Caribbean in the past 18 months. Online, I don't know where you'd find that, but offline, the guy's going to go, okay, hold on, beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop. What email address do you want me to send this list to? And you can have, 100,000 names. So I really like the fact that I could dial in that closely with direct mail. Kicked off a very simple campaign using postcards to drive people to, I'll put it in a way that makes a lot of sense for the digital crowd. It's a PPC ad, okay? So my postcard that I would mail is my PPC ad. When I click on a PPC ad, it takes me to a video sales letter or a sales page or something like that, right? When somebody gets my postcard, my click is a telephone call, okay? And I have them call a pre-recorded sales message. So rather than click on the PPC and go to a video sales letter, they get the card, they call the number, and they hear the same thing. It's just different channel. But right now, you and I and everybody viewing this is in an environment of distraction, as Dan Kennedy calls it. It's the internet. That bling, here's a picture of a kitty, right? Bling, I just won, $90,000 from Nigeria, whatever. When I'm on the telephone with somebody, that's not, is there distraction? Certainly, but there's a lot less. It's very engaging, right? So people are paying attention. So our sales messages would routinely be, 10 minutes or more. And we would have people engaged in that. Getting somebody to watch a video sales letter, they're going to let it run, go do their thing, and come back because they just want to hit the buy button and see how much it's going to cost. Okay? They don't care about the sales part. They already know, do I want it or not? How much is it? So it was very interesting. And I think within like my first 5 months, started from zero. Within 5 months, I had it up to where I was doing $500,000 a month in sales from postcard marketing, which was, hyper growth, very fast. Pulled back, shiny object like everybody else. I, got involved in something else, and then I went and did the business development stuff and kind of put my direct mail on hold, but I got back into it. But what I would advise, when I started really focusing back on it, I started seeing a couple of people that were really pushing the message out there. There's one guy in particular who's super duper. He's very close to you. And his name is Brian Kurtz, and he ran Boardroom. And what Brian's message and what my message are a lot alike is, it's not, let me be exclusive to email marketing. Let me be exclusive to PPC. Let me be exclusive to direct mail. It's multi-channel marketing. And it's understanding that, I bring somebody in from the web, from a postcard, they buy something. I've now got them in my CRM, whether it's, Office Autopilot or Infusionsoft or whatever. I need to be communicating with them through multiple channels. There goes the autoresponder sequence, right? Here comes the invitation to a webinar. But one thing that's really worked well for me in the direct mail space was that I drive the phone calls back into, after somebody hears the recorded message and they press 1 to order, I've got my own ninjas on the phone. And these aren't boiler room guys in suits and suspenders looking like Wall Street. These are regular people, but they're good at talking to other people. Because what I'm asking you to do is give your credit card information to a stranger. Same thing they do online, but different channels. So leveraging the web, direct mail, and telephones is, let me tell you something. You're selling stuff online, you're buying stuff online. When's the last time one of those people that you've bought from, somebody reached out and said, hey, noticed you bought, wanted to say thank you, welcome you to the community. Have you been able to log in? Great. If you got any trouble, here's how you reach us. Okay, great. Bye. No sales, no nothing like that. I'm working with the team that I've got now. We're working with somebody in the supplement space. It's a friend of mine. I wasn't taking outside clients, but he had a pretty significant business. And just doing those kind of calls, within 30 days, they noticed their refund rate dropped about 30%.
Wow.
And to them, that was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars on a monthly basis. And it was as simple as somebody saying, hey, you bought a product yesterday. It's being shipped today. Just wanted to say hi. Here's how to reach us. Shalom. Right?
Shalom.
So it's that simple. And the thing is that you can get somebody to do that for your company for $10 an hour, $12 an hour, whatever. You know, they don't have to be in an office. Here's the list. Here's how I want you to do these calls. I'm going to email it to you daily. I'm going to put it on a Google Doc. You know, I'm going to set you up with a Skype out number and just call my customers. And your customers are going to go, you know what, man, Satori Prime, those guys, they run a real business. Why do you say that? Well, I mean, they reached out to me. They knew I'd ordered. Like I like those guys because they care about me. This is coming full circle, right, with that telephone stuff with networking. They're your customers, and how much did you spend to generate that customer, right? You should be applying the same type of, you're networking with your own customers, right? What can I do to help you win? How can I provide value for you? Where's an opportunity for exchange with abundance to occur? For me, low cost, high impact. And that's, you know, a 1 minute telephone call. Even if it's a voicemail, people aren't like spam. They're like, oh, that's cool. You know? So that would be some very simple stuff that I would suggest to people to do. Look for channels. Don't be a Me Too marketer, for one. Well, everybody's doing Facebook PPC. I'm going to launch a Facebook PPC product, right? Unless you really got something to offer, don't try and compete in that place. Come in the back door, baby. You know, get the best seat you can while everybody else is fighting to get in line and in the VIP line, sneak in the back door. And direct mail allows you to do that. And here's an opportunity, and I think I've shared this with you. All of these guys, these big gurus and all this kind of stuff, and even, you know, anybody who's got a successful or a moderately successful a digital marketing business, if you were to say, hey, let me send an email to your list, that person would say, okay, well, there needs to be some compensation, an affiliate split, or, you know, I'm going to rent you my list on a CPM or whatever. But if you were to say to that person, hey, do you care if I do a direct mail campaign to your list? I won't see your list. And the way it works, people, just so you understand, person A with a list can send their list to a bonded mail house. I send my piece to that house. They do the mailing and everything. I never see person A's list, so it's very secure and safe. But to reach out to a big guru and say, hey, I'd like to do a email blast for my brand new product, they're going to go, I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
But if you were to say, hey, if I were to pay, let's do an affiliate split. I'll pay for the mailing. Let me do a direct mail to your list. The big guys they care about direct mail. They know it works, but they don't know how to do it. Although I will say, I don't know if you can see this name right there. You see his name that was? Okay. I got something via direct mail from that guy. So he's a big guy who does understand it, and he's mentions it a lot in his trainings. But that's a very simple routine, people. You want to break in with the big guys, say, let me do a direct mail campaign to your list. For them, for the big guy, there's opportunity cost that doesn't even exist, because it's not like, well, if I mail your piece, I can't mail this piece. Okay. On top of that, we can do this anonymously. I don't have to necessarily say, hey, I'm Chris Daigle. Ilan gave me your mailing address so I could send this to you. I know they're a buyer of a Facebook PPC product. I have one, but I'm not going to hit them on the web. I'm going to hit them via direct mail. So there's an opportunity there for you to do that. And then obviously, if you use the telephones with that, you have people call in, you know, hey, we'll walk you through the setup, or call in for your consult call or whatever. Huge opportunities for the same thing you're doing on the web, you can do it with a human being, with the upsells and all that kind of stuff.
What would you say is the best way for people to get, because a lot of the people in the IM space are constantly focused on email.
Mm-hmm.
How would you go about, so I know for like our buyers list, obviously we get all their information, right?
Yep.
But like, is there a smart way that you've come across of how people can get that information so they are able to use these multi-channels?
Are you saying like get somebody else's information?
I'm saying, like, if I was building my own list, for example, like, I get the whole guru, like, we mail out the guru,
Yeah.
you know, we reach out to these guys who...
And if you're going to do it, don't send them an email saying, hey, I'd like to do a direct mail thing. You know what you do? You mail them something. They are going to go like, what the hell is this? And it needs to be creative, not just like type something on Word, print it, put it in number 10 and stamp it. Make it something when they open it, they're like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Who is this gal? Right? So anyway.
Staple $100 to it.
One that worked very effectively was a guy would send the cap from a Mont Blanc pen. Just the cap. Call me back. I'll send the rest of the pen. So that got, expensive, but he also got a 99% response rate to, I think he was targeting like CEOs of banks or something. So
very smart. So,
but they were saying,
other than reaching out to these guys in a very creative way, to have them give you their list to direct mail, is there any way, because I know like on the landing page, people are only going to grab email address, right? Mm-hmm. And I think conversions will drop the more information they request. So like people aren't going to give you an a physical address or a phone number, just like on an opt-in page. So are you talking about just the buyers? Because like at that point, you're grabbing all their information.
I left that part out. Yeah.
Okay.
When we do our direct mail, we only mail, and with direct mail list selection, you can choose, I only want people who have bought. We're not looking, I don't mail anything to tire kickers. You shouldn't either. So everybody that has a full record, they call it, is going to be somebody that we collected their billing information and all that stuff. They're a buyer. That's who you want your message in front of. So yes, forgot that.
Yeah. And so that would be more for like they've already bought, whether it's even like $1 product or $4.95 product. At that point, you got their information. And then what you're talking about, this multi-channel stuff, is now they get that. Say they even bought something for $4.95, which is what you got, and that's why you got that letter, right, from Russell.
Yeah.
Right? And I thought it was very, very smart. I actually opened it and just it's very curious to see what other people are doing.
Yep.
And all it was to get people onto a much higher level kind of consulting platform.
Yeah. Is it calling in? Is that the action?
You can go to a website. Yeah.
Yeah. You apply.
You apply through a website.
I'll tell you that the ROI from this effort, I mean, yes, it cost him, I don't know, less than $1 per to get this out. But his ROI on this versus his ROI on some of his web-based stuff is going to be no comparison.
Yeah. And at that point, just so you guys understand, he offered a book, which I think was like a $4.95 shipping and handling play. Yeah. And then, I think like 2 weeks later, I got that letter in the mail. But because you've already given him the money in exchange for a book, and then that comes and you see the name and it was handwritten and it looked really good, you're like, I'm going to open this.
But would you have opened an email, nothing against Russell, but would you have opened an email that talked about signing up for his black box?
Nope.
Hell no. It would have just been another piece of detritus that was sitting in your inbox.
Yeah, absolutely. And the funny part is, I know I'm a marketer, so like I'm always curious to see what other people are doing, but I ended up reading almost the entire copy on that letter.
Yep.
Where as an email, I'm literally like, headline, who's it from, not interested, or headline, open it, scroll for like 10 seconds, Yeah. Like I actually went through and read that. So awesome. And then, so your model and what you consulted and taught people is select the lists, create the message in the postcard, create that voicemail message, right?
Yep.
And then from that voicemail message, that takes them through some sort of process, correct?
If they're ready to order, we tell them, to connect to an agent, press 1 now. So everything, the headline is in the recorded message, the benefits, the call to action, the price, the guarantee, the testimonials, all that stuff. I mean, it's just like a sales letter, but it's telephone.
Interesting. And I love what you said. I never thought about it till you just said it, about how there's very, very few distractions on the phone. Like, granted, I'm of the mindset, if you get people at the wrong time, like dinner or putting their kids down, blah, 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 they're going to be very irritated. But that's like anything else. The fact is, if you get someone on the phone and they're at their job, hating their lives at that moment, then they don't care to sit there and listen to a 10-minute message.
Hold on, let me go. I need to go. Let me go take this call real quick.
Exactly.
But I tell you, the difference between what we were doing is that we weren't doing outbounds to these people, and that we were having them call in with our postcards, which is how I would recommend people do it. Now, the outbound stuff, we were just doing that for welcome calls. We rarely do solicitations on those calls because people expect solicitation. Hi, this is so-and-so with this company. They're like, oh gosh. But when it's like, Oh, you just wanted to say hi and thanks for the business? Okay, great. Click. That's not like an intrusion. So it's a big difference. You have to be careful with the phones, but if you're watching this podcast and you have a business right now that's digital or whatever, and you get a new customer and you're the expert that's on the page selling that product, if you called that person, they would go, holy smokes, the dude called, like, and they are going to it's going to blow their mind that the celebrity, right, the expert, just reached out to say hi. That's going to blow their mind. So that's very easy for you to do.
Chris, quick question. So for people that do that, obviously, like, if you're selling 50 products, it's a time-consuming effort, which I get is probably still worthwhile because refund rates go down. They're probably going to be much more willing to buy your next product, etc. Is there a smart way to automate that process? Like, say I wanted to record a message and send it out to people. Is there like a smart process that I can go through?
There's a couple of ways to do it. And I'll give you an example. Yes, it sounds busy, but there's a guy, you know who Charles Kirkland is?
Yes.
Okay. Charles is a big deal, right? He knows his stuff. Charles lives just up the street, well, about 20 minutes from Charleston. And when we got together the first time, we were talking about it. After he does a webinar, he answers the phones to take the inbound sales calls. Charles Kirkland does, right? So it may seem like it's a lot of work, but Charles being on the phone versus an order taking service being on the phone, the number increases exponentially. Nobody knows his products like he knows his products. Okay. But what I would do is Jermaine Griggs introduced me to this concept. He uses a service, maybe Voice Shot or something like that, to where it'll do an automated. It'll say, hey, this is Ilan, just wanted to call and say thanks. People know that it's a recorded message when they pick it up live, but they have it set up to where if it's a voicemail, you can leave a different message because the phone systems will know, right? And his voicemail message was like he had his daughter in the room, and he was like, shuffling some. Hey, this is Jermaine. I just noticed you bought this thing. Sorry I missed you. I just noticed that you wanted to. Hey, baby, be quiet. Daddy's on the phone over here. Okay. Wanted to let you know. So, right, it was pre-recorded, but people get this message, and they're like, he's shuffling papers around. He can hear his kid in the background. It sounds like, my gosh, Jermaine just called.
Wow.
So there's some interesting ways to do that. I thought that was pretty crafty. But yeah, there's systems. I think Voice Shot is one of them, but they'll do an automated outbound call for you whenever somebody triggers a buy action.
You know what I just thought of? I wonder if there's a system that actually goes direct to voicemail.
There is.
Yep. Sneaky bastards.
Yep, there is.
So then that could actually work really in your favor.
Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I thought maybe it was your brother that I found that out about.
Really?
It was somebody maybe in the San Diego crowd, but okay. There's a service that goes, it will connect straight to voicemail. It'll bypass the ring.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Well, that's a very interesting idea right there for some of us.
Yeah.
I'll actually do some research after this and find out and share with you guys if I find something that goes straight to voicemail. All right. Anything else you want to say about the direct mail piece before we move on to another?
Nope. The wrap up on that would be, don't be intimidated by it. What you learn from 50-year-old direct mail books is still applicable strategy wise. Maybe not, push this button, but the understanding of direct response is better in those books than it is diluted down to somebody that's trying to teach you, the latest SEO hack or whatever. So
yeah, because I mean, the SEO and the online things change so fast. And it's like, even as good as Guy and I are at Facebook, like even with what they've been doing recently, it's night and day. Like we had a 90-day training program. Like we took a handful of guys to literally like make them Facebook experts, all guys with businesses, like really taking it seriously. And literally a month into the training, we kind of like ripped up the entire curriculum because they had flipped everything on its head. Now, granted, we're always up to date, so it was more like a what's working now, which I guess is still really, really valuable, because if you're using 3-month-old tactics, it's not going to work anymore. But I love that with this, it's like a skill set that, like you said, if in 5 months you've got some sort of level of expertise in, it's not changing.
Yep. So that would be my my wrap-up pointer on the direct mail stuff.
Awesome. So how cool is that, huh? A lot of great nuggets in there about a strategy that I think for most people is probably relatively new, or they've just forgotten that it even exists. But knowing what Chris shared and allowing you to go out there and test these things and know that it's a tried and tested model that is one of the few models, like we wrap this up with, that you can actually go out there and learn and know that in 2 or 3 or 5 years from now, it's still going to be the same strategy. That is a huge game changer. So with that, we're going to wrap up part 2 of the conversation Chris and I had, and we're going to move on to part 3. Now, part 3 is one not to be missed because we're going to go into something that very few people are even talking about, which is brain drugs, nootropics, and cognitive enhancers. And Chris is actually the person that introduced me to it, so you'll want to hear it from the horse's mouth. All right, I'll see you guys all on part 3.
Thank you for joining us on this week's Performance Enhancing Podcast. We've taken this pep talk and created a custom action guide so you know exactly what action steps to take now to grow your business. Just head over to satoriprime.com/podcast and download it for free. Also, please leave a comment and rate this podcast on iTunes. It'll help us get the word out. Thanks for listening. Now, go and implement. We'll see you next time.